All right. Okay. Okay. So my name is Jonathan, and I teach at Ivy League. It's my pleasure to welcome everyone on the call. So today we are having our Oxford Brookes University induction slash information sharing session. It is our hope that for as many people as we're going to have on the call, that all your questions, all your clarifications, and anything generally you would like to know about the program, that we are able to address them. Our session will go in broadly two parts. We're going to speak to our offerings, and the second part will be to just take general feedback and questions and commentaries from everyone on the call. So generally be to a large ex- that would generally be to a large extent the way the session would run. So just a bit to talk about our school, because we recognize that there are quite a lot of people who might be on this call and who don't sort of have a detailed information as to what we do in the school. So just to welcome you all, and then I'll take you through that session. So who are we? Before I start by who we are, I would like to speak to our values and what really defines us as a school. So at Ivy League, we are driven by this core set of values. So the first is our purpose. Our purpose is to promote economic empowerment and societal growth through professional education. And the bigger picture really is we want to contribute to the good of humanity, contribute to the growth of the economy by providing quality professional tuition. That's really what really defines what we do and why we do what we do. Our ambition is to be the undisputed leader in Africa, because we really do think we've got to get the local dominance at the continental level, and then that allows us to scale at a much more global level. So broadly, what we see in the medium term now is we want to be the undisputed leader in Africa in any field of professional education. And I'm going to speak to why this is defined as any field of professional education. Because we started out with one set of qualification, but we've grown now to offering different sort of qualifications in the school, and I'll speak to that shortly. So not just do we want to be Africa's undisputed leader in any field of professional education that we choose to play in, but we will do this. I think there's someone who is not on mute. So maybe just as a rule, if you're not speaking, just go on mute, because there's some holdback we can get. And we will do this through an innovative and impactful learning system. That's really how we're going to approach this. So a bit of our journey so far. We started in 2013, and we started with our base qualification, which was ACCA. And ever since then, we're proud to say we've gone on to train over 6,000 to 7,000 students and counting on our base qualification, which was ACCA. Um, and if you look through the charts, that I have here, it's quite been a very phenomenal one. And I say phenomenal because almost in every 2 years, there's actually something very remarkable that we've done. And I'll speak to that very soon. Across ACCA tuition, both in West Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa, based on the data available to us as recent as last month, we still are the market leader in providing ACCA qualification and ACCA tuition. We are the choice for a lot of ACCA's approved employer, and it's quite very common to see in our school that there are quite a lot of students, from diverse backgrounds, and also working for a diverse set of approved employers, from public sector to private sector to the multinationals, and even to the big four accounting firms. It's quite very common to see a mix of this sort of students in our class. Um, we're proud about so many things, but one of the things we are very much proud about as a school is our faculty. We like to say that we have a combined faculty with over 200 years. I mean, a combined faculty experience that spans over 200 years of teaching experience. And I always like to put some clarification. So this is teaching experience. If we complement that with work experience, that's clearly in excess of 1,000 years of both teaching and work experience. And that is something that we really bring to the table that sort of separates us from quite a lot of the players you would find. That there's really that blend of experience, both in teaching this qualification and also in what we do every day in our individual careers and our work life. And above all, we are driven by purpose, which I had shared before, which is really to contribute to the larger good of humanity and the development of the economy, leveraging on what we do best, which is really professional education. And it's no surprise that when you look through almost in every 2 years, right, there's something we're very proud about. In 2015 we became a gold approved learning partner for ACCA. In 2017 we became a platinum learning approved partner, and in 2018 something remarkable happened, which is not something you will find in most climes, is that we exceeded our pass rates across every ACCA offering, and that was very remarkable. We commenced CFA tuition in 2020, and I'll speak to that very soon. So, what are our core product offerings as at now? And still, we still plan to expand on these offerings. So currently, I mean, our base product has been ACCA qualification. So we teach ACCA qualification, and we are a platinum rated approved learning partner, which is really the highest rating you can get anywhere in the world. If you register as a business to offer ACCA tuition, platinum is the highest rating, and we've been that since 2017, and we will always sustain that position and whatever we need to do to sustain that. In June 2020, we commenced CFA, and CFA is a very reputable qualification for those who have a passion to deepening their knowledge around investments, and that's something we've done. We'll be beginning our third set of classes for that. We commenced in June 2020. We did the second session in January, and then on July 24, we're going to commence our third cohort for our CFA program. We also offer a specialized qualification called the ACCA Diploma in IFRS. And the target market for this is for those who might have qualified a long time, qualified from ACCA or qualified from ICANN or any broad accountancy qualification, and who would like to deepen the understanding, of the latest international financial reporting standards, right? Or people who want to build a career path around financial reporting, and audits, if you like, So those generally form our target markets, for people that will come for this qualification. So that's something we offer, and we've been doing that for quite a couple of years, and we're happy to say that by next week Saturday would also be commencing that qualification for those who will be interested in doing this qualification with us. Then finally, to what we are here for today is the Oxford Brookes University BSc in Applied Accounting program. I'm not going to speak so much because our faculty, for that, which is led by the distinguished Mrs. Tutu, she's going to do a great job, just speaking to that in quite a lot of detail. And we're going to have some insights, and I'm sure we'll walk away from this call having more insights on what we need to do if you're interested in obtaining a BSc in Applied Accounting, courtesy of the Oxford Brookes University. Yeah, so in all we do, we are clear on our methodology, and that, for example, represents why some of those fantastic things I spoke around, what we've done, remarkable in every 2 years since we started. So our teaching methodology is anchored on three things, and what is that? The first thing is that we do a lot of planning and assessments, and I'm sure that when the OBE faculty starts to have their detailed session, you would see a lot of that in some of the things they will communicate to you. And then the second thing we do is that we're very engaging, so we don't just teach at the school, we're also very engaging. We like to say that our interactions extend even beyond the classrooms. We have forums and online platforms where engagement can still happen even beyond, the face-to-face or the online sessions you'll be having. And then the final part of our teaching methodology is that we do a lot of review. And for some qualifications, we do a lot of question practice at a very detailed and extensive level. So these three sort of defines, or what makes us very unique in what we do at Ivy League. And just to say, there are quite a lot of support tools we have to support everyone in the school. And so why not just sign up and join us for any of the qualification that I have mentioned, so far. So we offer ACCA qualification, we offer the CFA qualification, we offer the ACCA diploma in IFRS qualification, and then we also assist in the project mentoring services for the BSc in Applied Accounting, and courtesy of the Oxford Brookes University. So that will be it for now. I'm open to any question broadly around the school. And if there are no questions, I'm going to hand it back to my colleague and the very distinguished Mrs. Tutu.
Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for taking us through the overview of what Ivy League stands for. Please, can we confirm that we can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. And thanks to everyone that has taken time to be a part of this today. Just as Jonathan said, I'm sure that at the end of this session, you'll be able to take home, a few points on how you can effectively ensure that, you prepare yourself for the OBU Oxford Brookes BSc in Applied Accounting. I'll just run us through the profile of the people that, are dedicated to, taking this project or helping you get value for your relationship with the Ivy League school. So yes, I'll be going through the slides now. So I'll just briefly touch on what we offer in the OBU faculty. And then I'll be also explaining what we offer and, how we do what we do. So we have a rich faculty of seasoned mentors. I've mentioned that already. Very importantly is this OBU induction day. I'm not sure there are, institutions that offer this service that takes time to, take you through what exactly you should expect, as you're on board with us. So yeah, that's a plus for us. We have this OBU induction day where we typically take people through what exactly, it is that we do in the Ivy League way. Another thing is we have, dedicated mentors that will be assigned to you. It's one thing to have a rich faculty. It's another thing to have dedicated mentors assigned to you. So you're just not, you have, someone that oversees your project, that challenges your thought and that helps you to ensure that, the project is a better one ultimately so that you can make good success. Moving on to active engagement, I know that Jonathan in his presentation already mentioned, how engaging we are, how the OBU information pack, which is the standard guide for this OBU and BSc in Applied Accounting, it just details that we should have 3 solid engagements. But aside that, in Ivy League, we go a step further and ensure that aside the 3 engagements, we give you even more. There is that active and constant communication. Another thing that we do that stands us out is the feedback per chapter. So yes, there are 3 chapters, and one of the faculty members will be taking us through the requirements of the chapters. Yeah, there are 3 chapters, and you get seasoned feedback, feedback that is invaluable on all the chapters that you've written. Another thing that we do that we pride ourselves in, we have the OBU presentation day. And as we would advise as we go on in this session, we'll be talking about everything you need to know. And along the line, you will discover that there is that requirement from OBU that says that you should make a presentation to your mentor. So as a school, we decided, okay, so that there will be, an holistic feedback. You're not just presenting to your mentor alone. You're presenting to a pool of mentors and, everyone that has also gone through, the OBU submission that round. So you were seated, whether virtually or physically, we've done it virtually for 3 sections now. So yeah, virtual world has come to stay. Everyone is looking at what you have to present and, critiquing what you have done and helping you to ensure that the project is a success. So, and then when we're done with that presentation day, you will have taken relevant feedback, and then it will be easier for you to then go back and do your plagiarism check. Another thing that we also do that stands us out as Ivy League is the fact that, aside the fact that you have a dedicated mentor that works with you on the project, we also do independent review of the total work that you have done. So you will have worked with your mentor, you will have taken relevant feedback per chapter, you will have done, everything to ensure success, and then you still have someone that would, do an independent review of your work just to ensure that, it's value that you are submitting. And we can clearly see that it has paid off, and, we have had outstanding success from the people that have, or the mentees that have, done their project with us over the years. So moving on so fast, I want to go into the faculty itself. Who are we? Just to run through the people. Presently, we have 6 in the faculty, and I if I were to combine the experience of all these people, Jonathan already said it at the beginning that we have over 1,000 years of experience. But yeah, these are experts in their fields, people that are leaders in the industry that have come together to add value to whatever you are offering. So I am Adetutu Oludare. I have Oladimeji Olajiton. I have Omolola Fashesin. Then Jonathan Ikeolumba, Abib Olakiton, and Muideen Apeno. As we go through the presentation, you would see the faces of everyone, and then you can tell and put, of course, our pictures are here, and then you get to see us as well. Let me just run through this rich profile, just a short outlook, just for you to have a brief overview. Like I said, my name is Adetutu Oludare. I won't bore you with my credential details, but yes, I lead the OBU offering for Ivy League. Then I have Omolola Fashesin, that is a fellow, of the Chartered Certified Accountants. She is a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. She holds an MBA from Alliance Manchester Business School, University of Manchester, from United Kingdom. She's a seasoned banker with experience in finance, risk management, and sustainability. I remember at the last OBU induction day, I had spoken to Omolola's credential, and there was someone in the room that decided to go and do the research and share this with us in the room. But like I said, we have a faculty of people that are experts in their field. It's really invaluable, to gain and get experience and have people like this, review your OBU certification project. Yeah. So I move on to Oladimeji Olajiton. He's also a fellow. He has experience in governance, risk management, compliance, finance, strategy. And the beauty about Dimeji's profile is that he has worked across multiple industries, which makes it a very rich one, as I mentioned earlier. He has an MBA with specialization in strategic planning, and that MBA is from the University of Edinburgh Business School in Scotland. Then we have Olakito Habib, who is an associate of ACCA. He's passionate about strategy, analysis, finance, and governance. Is an executive coach. So you can imagine having a coach review, having someone that is a certified emotional intelligence specialist, review what you have done. You can imagine that it has to be valued. Then he's also a neuro-linguistic practitioner, and is also on John Maxwell team membership. I hope people are clapping as I'm reading this profile. All right, I move on to Thank you. I move on to Jonathan. Jonathan was the one that took us through the introduction. Jonathan is my boss. He has a very rich credential, and he understands everything ACCA, right? So he has ACCA, he has ACA, he has MIIN. He is an alumnus of the prestigious Lagos Business School. He's also seasoned in finance and strategy. He does consulting. He has over 15 years experience. He has taught several STA papers, won different awards. Jonathan has made us proud, and we are proud to have him on the faculty, right? Recently, he is the chief learning officer. He just even became a director in Ivy League, and I can assure you, for anyone to attain that position in Ivy League, it's really the person must have really paid their dues. So please keep clapping as we read through the profile. The last but not the least is Muhyiddin Apeno. Muhyiddin is my own team lead. I lecture financial management in Ivy League, and Muhyiddin is my team lead. So yeah, he has a very rich profile as well. He's a member of the Association of Certified Chartered Accountants. He holds BSc and MSc both from University of Lagos. He's a seasoned banker. He's an analyst. He has over 16 years experience in finance strategy and performance-related function. He loves, maybe I should upgrade the love to, he is passionate about teaching. And then, like I said, he leads the financial management work stream in the Ivy League environment. Recently, Muhyiddin was acknowledged for his, his contribution to the success of the financial management students. I really admire his tenacity, and I know that having such a person as your mentor would also be a plus. So that's a general overview of the faculty. Like I said, as we move along in the presentation, you get to know who we are, and then we would also be giving you extreme details, very pivotal points as to the things you need to note to ensure that you're successful with your BSc in applied accounting. So at this point now, I'm going to hand over to Omolola, who would start the presentation of what the OBU project entails. Omolola, over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Adetutu. Good morning, everyone. It's good to be here with you. It's good to to spend my Saturday morning with you all. Yeah, so like Tutu mentioned, very quickly, I will be going through the first part of the presentation, and then I'll hand over to my colleague after, at some point. And just give you an overview, and I would like to state upfront, that we are just trying to make it simple to break down the information, to you, but we will expect you to go ahead and read the information pack. It is very, very important. So I just thought to state that upfront before I start my presentation. So we have about 11 sections. Very quickly, we would start. Tutu, if you could, yes, about 12 sections, if you could move, Tutu. Yeah, so this is to give you an overview, an introduction into what the project entails. So we have the OBU as well as ACCA came together, they partnered, and they're offering a BSc degree to ACCA members, such that, even whilst you're still writing your ACCA, you can obtain an additional degree, which is a BSc in accounting. I see that as a very exciting offer, which I believe you should also be excited about and be willing to take up. Now there are some there's a set of rules which helps you determine whether you are eligible to submit a research analysis project. So to obtain this BSc degree, you need to submit a research and analysis project. Now OBU has defined a set of rules just to let you know if you're eligible to submit that's RAP. I'll just call RAP for short. So once I say RAP, know that it means research and analysis project. Now you should have passed 3 ACCA applied skills examinations. That's financial reporting, audit and assurance, and financial management. You also should have passed or gained exemption from 6 other papers. From the other 6 papers at the knowledge and skills level. Now there's a model that you need to complete, which is the ACCA ethics and professional model. And then lastly, to demonstrate your currency of knowledge, that you still know what this whole accounting thing is all about, you should, submit and pass your RAP within 10 years of the earliest or the first date of your ACCA examination. So if you wrote your first exam in June 2010, for example, that's already your 10 years has passed. So unfortunately, you will not be able to submit. But if it's still within and the last 10 years, then you're fine. And then ACCA has also realized that it's possible that you gain the exemption first before even writing an exam. So they've also mentioned that it's, it's even if from the first day that that exemption was granted 10 years after, you have to complete and pass your RAP. Next slide, please, Susan. We always like to say that the final decision lies with ACCA. So if in doubt, like that saying that if in doubt, ask. So don't sit down and just come to that. Oh no, I'm not eligible. It won't cost you more than an email. Just send it to confirm. Okay, these are my particular details, and then let them confirm for you. They will do it free of charge. So basically, to submit to gain this BSc, like I mentioned earlier, you need to submit a RAP. And a RAP is divided into two parts. My colleague would delve into that during the second part of the presentation. But I'll just talk about it briefly. It consists of a research report, which consists of about 7,500 words, and then you have a skills and learning statement, which consists of about 1,800 to 2,000 words, plus a PowerPoint presentation that contains not more than 20 slides. Next slide, please, Tutu. Now, just like with every BSc degree, there are classes of degree, just like with every qualification. You can come out with a first class, second class, or par. So OBU also has this categorization, and so it's a function of two things. The degree you'd come out with, the class of degree you come out with, is a function of your average scores in some specified ACCA papers, as well as your results in the project. So the RAP is graded A, B, C, or fail. We pray that no one would fail. So it's A, B, and C if you pass. And then there's, based on those ACCA subjects, you also do an average of all of the scores. If you had 60 in one, 75 in another, 80 in another, the average of those scores. So if I'll just cite an example with the very first rule, which is 68 or more. So if you compute all your average, or the average on all your scores, and you see that you scored 70, 70. And then, so for that, regardless of what you make in that RAP, if you make an A or B or C, you are automatically a first-class student. So what this enables you to do is to say, okay, you know where you fall already based on your average scores. You can say, okay, I want to aspire, to get a first class. Maybe, like some of us, we didn't get a first class. Tutu did, by the way, but some of us didn't get a first class. So if you still desire, to have a first class in this, qualification, you can say, you know what, I will, that means you need to score, an A or B or C in your, so and you already know the average score you have in those ACCA subjects. So you know that, okay, you need to score, so let's look, for example, at the third row where you have 66. So if you compute your average and you are somewhere at 66, you know that for you to get that first class, you need to have an A in that project. And believe you me, getting an A in that project is very, very possible. Ivy League has that track record of several people that have scored A in the project. Yes, if you could move on to the next slide, please. Now, also, OBU has specified 20 project topic areas. And just to mention, okay, yes, and there are different topics requiring different things. We can skip this. We'll talk about it in the next slide. It requires different kinds of data. And OBU has been kind enough. The last review that was done in June, they specified what you need for each topic. I'll just talk through a few and explain what each of these data types mean. So, for example, if you're looking at number 1, which is an analysis and evaluation of an organization's budgetary control system, and it's linked with performance management and decision making. OBU has specified that for this particular topic, you will need primary data collection. And that primary data collection refers to things that are that are only available to the company. So you won't see it on their website, you won't see it anywhere else apart from inside that company. So it goes without saying that once you know that you want to go with topic 1, and you've chosen your that organization you need to use, you must know someone in that organization that will give you access. So it's not just knowing anyone is not enough. Okay, you need to be sure that that person has enough influence to give you access to that primary data, which is internally generated and stays within them to kind of protect that data. If you go down to number 3, for example, an assessment and potential impacts of an aspect of impending legislation on the operations and financial position of an organization. For this particular topic, OB have told you that you can use publicly available information. So things you read up on the website, things you pick up, just it could be on the Commons website, it could be on the financial, all these people, Bloomberg, all those financial analyst websites, you could pick up all those publicly available information. Now, like we said, OBU made some changes for this submission round and actually for the next 4 submission rounds. And I'll just quickly speak to those 4 topics that have changed. The first is topic 4, okay? And what they've said here is that, you can analyze and evaluate the business and financial performance of an organization that has performed exceptionally poorly over a 3-year period with a critical analysis of the reasons for its difficulties. So the OBU just introduced this, like I said, and they say, you just look at a company that's performed just exceptionally poorly beyond, more than all their peers. And I was listening to a video, just last night, and they said, we know it's COVID, so don't think that, okay, no, this one is easy, I will just blame it on COVID. And they were clear to mention that we know COVID has caused this, but it shouldn't be all COVID. Don't just say it's because of COVID. And what that person on that video, YouTube video, it's available on YouTube, by the way. Now that YouTube video was saying that, we know COVID has caused a lot of things, but we also know there are fundamental issues. So there are other things that could have contributed to it. So they stated this categorically, that don't just come and blame it all on COVID for you to write these, for you to work on this particular topic. Similarly, topic 5 also, sticks to the other side to say this particular company has performed exceptionally well. So on the flip side as well. Move to the next slide, please, Tutu. Topic 8. So I'm not dwelling on the old topics because I know it's possible some of you would have attended this session and could have read the information part before. So topic 8 also speaks about for analysis and evaluation of a company that is operating in a sector that has faced strategic and operational challenges. This sector has just been bombarded with different things, regulations, different things, like I said, also not just COVID. So this one is beyond the regulations the regulator has just been eating them with different kind of regulations. This one is happening, FX is happening to, exchange rates, different government policies that are probably not in their favor, competition, different things. And then last but not the least, in terms of the new topics that were introduced, is topic 15. If you could move to the next slide, please. Is an analysis and evaluation of how an organization has managed the use of data to inform business performance and achieve strategic advantage. So also on that video that I listened to, the lady was talking about data, everybody's talking about big data, this one, data analysis, if you go so many data courses, everybody is taking a certification or one short training or the other, one short course or the other in data. So they said, okay, they felt the need to also introduce the use of data, the importance of data in this particular research project, which is why they've now brought it in to say, look for one organization that has managed the use of data to inform business performance and achieve strategic advantage. And consideration must be given to how the ethics of data use is managed. So there's this thing about using data in an ethical manner, which is also reflected in this OBU project. Anyway, to say before you just use any data, you must be ethical about it. Do I have the permission expressly, given permission to use that data? So just to digress a bit, but back to this topic to say that you must give consideration must be given to that, how that company has used that data, ethically. And so, like I said, the new information pack has been broken down. It gives you the kind of data you need, and it also gives you hints, because I consider them hints. So that for every topic, you also see underneath, consideration must be given to, for this topic. So then they will always give you that hint. So it's very important. I'm emphasizing it again because it's extremely important that you read that pack back to back, cover to cover, like we always say. So if we could move on, so I won't dwell on the other topics. Well, please read through before you select any topic. Ask yourself what kind of information. You don't even need to ask yourself. Read the pack and then ask yourself, do I have access to this information? If it's publicly available information, what it will cost you is Google. I mean, or Max Google Scholar, not just the regular Google. You might need to, go a notch higher and look at Google Scholar. So please take note that for some of the topics, you need one organization. For some of the topics, you need to focus only one organization. But for some others, you need a comparative company as well, so that you can just compare and make and draw conclusions about, okay, how this one fared versus how that one fared. If you could move on to the next slide, please, Tutu. Yes, so this also provides just additional information about using current data. Okay, so aside those mentioned topics, for every other thing you should use current information. If you are talking about the introduction of a new legislation or one new technology, don't go and talk about one technology that was introduced in 2000. No, that's no longer current. So they want something that is happening now, that is top of mind for everybody, that is still, it's current, it's a burning issue, it's something that is happening now. But however, for those other topics that looks at historical business performance over a 3-year period, so they expect that, of course, you need to look at the trend. So for those ones, you need historical data, and also it shouldn't be more than 3 years. So for a project that you submit in May 2021, for example, you shouldn't go beyond 2019. The financials that you'll be using shouldn't go beyond 2019. Next slide, please, Tutu. Yes, it's still additional, tips on subject selection. We can't overemphasize this. I'll let you know, because this is the very first thing, the very first step in your project. You need to select that topic. So we can't overemphasize it. So apologies if I'm boring you with all this. So first, like I've said, is the access to data. You must ask yourself, do I have access to the required data? News and other media coverage. So it's not just the company's websites. Like I said, you go to Bloomberg, go to other, sources of data, all this financial news, business news websites and all that. A comparator, we've talked about that. Then also, is the company publicly or privately listed? And it's important that you use publicly listed companies that are over 5 years old. So because, like we said, you need like 3 years historical information. So you don't want the company that just started in 2019. And then you're using you don't want a company that started in 2018, and then at least let the company should have been in operation for at least a few years, and then you can start using their financials. And then it is important to consider a company you have interest in. So there should be something drawing you to that company, because that would go a long way. You will be able to demo. You need that quest for knowledge. Say, well, I so much like BMW cars, for example. So I want to learn about, okay, what happens, in that company and all that. So industry and sector, for topics 4, 5, 8, and 15, those new topics, there is no requirement to choose an organization within a specified sector. And I think this is also a great improvement vis-a-vis what has happened in the past. In the past, you were restricted to a number of sectors, but now they've opened the tap. Any sector you want, just bring it in. And just, the point about personal interest will then help you justify why you decided to go for that particular company operating in that particular sector. Next slide, please. So there is a word count. Okay. Luckily, there are things that you can swing. I mean, they're not very difficult. Part 1, which speaks to objective research approach, you should have about 1,000 words. Part 2 talks about information gathering and all that. You should have about 2,000 words. And then part 3 is your results, conclusions, recommendations, and all that. You should have about 4,500 words, such that overall the range specified is between 7,000 and 7,500 words. Now, the research is in three parts. Part one, no, I've already, sorry. Then the skills and learning statements, which speaks to, personal reflection. What have you learned, from that experience? So we'll call it an experience. You are meeting with your mentor, you are doing presentations, you are gathering data. OBU expects you to have gained some other personal. So aside just submitting that project and something should have changed inside of you. So it helps you to do some self-reflection, helps you to see how you've improved on your communication skills and all that. And this, you have two questions. Also, it's been simplified now. In the past, you used to have 4 questions, but now you have 2 questions, and then they've specified it. And what we usually advise that from the very beginning, pick up those questions. So don't wait till the end, because it's meant to be a self-reflection. Every journey, every step of the journey, you should be looking, okay, what am I learning? You're going to meet with your mentor in a couple of days time. Okay, so what are the learnings from that meeting? So those are the kind of things, so you should have a jotter, whether we're all digital now, whether on your phone, just take note, or if you want to do the old school method, get a notebook and just be jotting it down. So those 2 questions, OBU has said that the 2,000 words, 1,000 to 800, 1,800 to 2,000 words should be evenly split. So don't answer the first question and use 600 words, and then go to second question and use 1,400 words. No, they've asked it be evenly split. So you can use 900 here, 850 there. Just something strike a balance. That's what I'm saying. Sorry, 900 here, 950 there, because if you use 850, then it doesn't add up to 1,800. Yes. So quality control and plagiarism checks, please, and please. I'll emphasize this again. Also, we've seen, just like with every ethical school, they don't want you to cheat. They want you to, use your own effort. So please, if you go to Google, you see several people that say they can write this project for you. Do not be tempted to use those services. Please do not, because those ones, it's not that getting paid for it. They don't care about whether it's OBU, detect and make you face a panel or whatever. It's a service. They do whatever they like for you, and they collect their money, and and then you are left to face the consequences. So please do not be tempted to use those services. Even do not be tempted to use maybe your brother or your cousin, or you have a younger cousin that don't be tempted to use all of that. Do it yourself, and then make sure you are ethical. They do not take it very lightly. If anyone is caught, such a person is made to face a disciplinary procedure, which is you don't even want to go through it at all. It is time consuming, it drains you emotionally, physically, and all that. And at the end of the day, if such a person is found culpable, then there are very severe consequences. Yes. So there's a particular website that OBU has recommended, and please do not use any other thing aside this. Although you need to pay for it, but it's much more cheaper for you to use this, than pay that. Is it the last time? Maybe it was $100. I can't remember, but it's much more cheaper. Don't look at the cost. It's much more cheaper and safer for you to pay on these items in case and submit your project to do a plagiarism check. And what the plagiarism check does is to see if there are no matches from other work that has been done in the past. So if you use there are other plagiarism checks websites that are free, but do not use them, because then there will be problem by the time such a project gets to OBU. So please, it's very important. Next slide, please. Yes, so this might okay. So this is just saying, in your preparation guidelines, be sure that you know the method you want to use. Have an approach. Look at all this, and what is the problem I'm trying to solve? What are the objectives? What literature will I need? What method of information gathering am I going to use? Questionnaires, if it's secondary data, am I going to just pick up the numbers, just pick up a financial statement and start picking up the numbers, and just think about all this before you set out. Next slide, please. Yes, you should. There are some constraints, and you should be realistic about, what you want to do. You should have research objectives that are smart. Um, you should have you should you have your chapter one will contain your objectives, and they should be smart. It should be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound as well. You should also consider a wide source of information. It shouldn't be just something that is only available on the company's website. It should be something you should use other sources, business news, all these other sources. And then please note that insufficient analysis and evaluation, is also, a major source of failure. So please ensure that you get as much data as much as possible. Next slide, please. Yes, also, apologies. Sorry, sincere apologies. So also there, like I mentioned earlier, there's some constraints about the use of primary data. You should determine, do you want to use primary data? If that topic requires primary data, you should ask yourself, how will I get it? Do I know a senior person? I've spoken through all this before. Do I know a senior person that can give me the access that I require? And note that in instances where you need to use questionnaire and where you need to interview people, all the copy of your questionnaire, if you had interviewed someone, a copy of a summary of the responses that you got needs to be provided as an appendix in your submission, such that OBU knows that you didn't just go and cook up the data, that you really got all those data back from people, from the company. So have I gone beyond my, so just okay? Yes, I think, yeah. Next slide, please. Apologies. Yes. Yes, so we've talked about that. Yes, and we've also talked about, we've talked about information gathering, referencing, ethics, especially around the use of data, and especially around, making sure that it's your work, that you are submitting a project that is based on your efforts. Confidentiality and anonymity. Yeah, we know that you might interview someone and they say, I don't want my name to be mentioned or something. So that's also is also allowed. And then information technology. I mean, everything is digital these days. We're having this digital session. So you need to just be sure that, will I have access, internet power in this part of the world is a major issue. You need constant, sort of power. So this also speaks to you planning ahead. You know that, okay, perhaps there won't be light power all night, and you plan to work all night. Just all those little details, but that really, really, impacts the quality of your work, and how timely you're able to turn around your work. Next slide, please. Yes, my colleague will talk, about this in details, but we've mentioned things that would be in your appendices, your analysis, things around the survey that you carried out, the questionnaires and things like that. List of references is also very important. So when you quote someone's work, you should at least acknowledge that, okay, I read an article, I read a particular book, and I put it there. I think I'll stop here and hand over to my colleague. I can see he's already on standby to continue with the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Dimeji. It looks like your network is a bit bad.
Good morning, everyone. Good to have you on the call. Many thanks to Jonathan and Tutu as well. Thank you for all that you have said about Ivy League. And hi, Tutu, can you hear me?
Yes, Dimeji, you're breaking a little.
It's seriously breaking.
Yes.
Your network is bad. Can you just adjust the listen, go to another place so that you can get it?
If you could adjust a little, it would be fine. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna make some adjustments quickly to my network provider.
Okay.
Is it better now?
Yes, it sounds a bit better.
Okay, apologies for that.
All right.
All right, so hope you don't mind if I'll find a spot to get my image up shortly. I'll rather just proceed.
Yes, that's fine. You can turn on your camera. It will help improve the quality.
Okay, so as I was saying, this session is largely going to speak to how we want to structure your research work, and I'll be speaking to the word count and the general presentation. Um, in addition to what we'll be looking at, we'll look at what constitutes your research work, what should go into it, and how we can also support you on this journey. So for the part one, your research work is divided into three parts. Part one is largely on your project objectives and overall research approach. Here is largely your data gathering. It's setting the tone. This is the foundation of your research work. Your examiner will read through your chapter one to get an understanding of why you are interested in this topic, why are you interested in the organization, what is the focus, what are the things you intend to get out of the research. Remember, this is a research work. It's not just an essay writing. So there are research questions or research objectives, and generally you're providing an overview of what the examiner should expect as the examiner reads through your work. Your part two is largely putting in the information together, and as well the levels of accounting and business techniques you want to use. Depending on the topics, some topics are strong on accounting techniques and business techniques. Some are largely on business techniques, but we advise that, irrespective of the topic you're selecting, it's good to sprinkle in a bit of accounting techniques and results into it. It gives a balanced approach to your research work, so it's not skewed to either just business techniques and accounting techniques. It's good that you find a balance between the two. So largely your second part is talking about the type of data you're using, like Lola mentioned earlier, your primary data, secondary data, publicly available data, internal data. These are where you'll be explaining to your examiner how your approach. The slide is moving. Thank you. All right, and again, you also move on to the methods of your collection. You move on to the limitations. The researcher, your examiner is interested to know your journey. It's not just the end result. The examiner is interested in the challenges you face in getting your data. Is it easy for you to get the data? Do you have to go the extra mile? What are the challenges, both now that with the advent of COVID and the limitations in gathering, libraries are still shut in some regions of the world. How are you able to navigate all those hurdles to get your research work done? And generally, you will be given an explanation of the accounting and business model you want to use. For example, if you're doing a financial analysis and doing a bit of ratio analysis, this is where you explain the ratio analysis you'll be using. Also for business techniques, say you're using Porterford 5 forces, you also need to explain what is 5 forces all about, and inclusion of the required for you to also identify and analyze the limitations of these accounting and business techniques. Next slide, please. Now, the part 3 is where you tie it all together, where you tie your part 1, your part 2, and bring up your results in part 3. So your part 3, your examiner wants to see your results, you want to see the analysis, you want to see your conclusions, as well as your recommendation. And we expect the examiners, the examiner will expect that you will, describe your results. You will also make a presentation using tables, graphs, just ensure that it's not all wordy. There are some data that you can present on tables. There are some data you can present on bar charts, pie charts, just to ensure that your research work is rich. And in addition to all that, you also need to present a critical analysis of your results. So, for example, if you're analyzing the financial impact of an organization, if you're looking at reviewing or analyzing the financial performance of an organization, and revenue grew by say 20%, you're not just going to, the examiners don't expect you to just insert in your analysis that revenue grew by 20%. Your examiner wants to know why. What are the drivers of that growth? Revenue grew by 20%. Is it because there's a new product launch? Is it because there's a disruption in a competition that moves consumers to the market? Is there a government policy leading? Is there an environmental change? A lot of things tie into that. So these are real world activities, and the examiner wants you to present it as such. And just to dive in a little bit, if you're doing a performance analysis of organizations that are environmental friendly, recent trend analysis I did a couple of weeks ago shows that there's been a growth and good performance on those businesses, and all because of global warming, all because of, COVID changed a lot of things, and businesses that are into medical space are really high performers in the stock market. So when you're analyzing companies like these, you can't just say business grew by 20-30%. You need to dive in a little bit more and present a solid explanation to support your result, your findings. You're also expected to present a conclusion of your research. This is largely summarizing your work and tying it in. It's important you do this because this is more or less your closing, starting from your chapter 1 when you're explaining why you're going into this research and the topic and organization and your approach. Your conclusion is more or less closing your research work, and tying it as well to your research objectives and your research questions. We highly recommend that your research work includes recommendation on some specific course of action. It gives you the opportunity to bring in your own aspect and your own input into how the business can run better, depending on your topic and depending on the organization you're analyzing. Now, it's important that we pay attention to what counts. I've seen research work where the candidate has about 9,000 word counts. I need to let you also know that when you're gathering your data, putting your documents together and you're writing this research work, it's sometimes you're loaded with so much information. You have information and you want to put all into your research work. While your research work needs to be rich in content and context, it's important that you also pay attention to the word count. You have a maximum word count of 7,500. It sounds a lot, but trust me, I've seen a lot of research work submitted by students that are way above this, and it's a tall. It's more of a hard work pruning this to the 7,500 work, but it's a hard stop at 7,500. And you also need to declare that when you're submitting your report. It's important to also note that this word count is we're not including the financial statement or the appendix in your word count. It's largely your research work that this word count speaks to. Are there penalties if I exceed the 7,500? Yes, there are penalties, and you need to be careful with the word count, and that's why I'm emphasizing on it. If you submit your research work and it's above 7,500 words, your examiner will only assess you up to the 7,500 word. Anything you wrote after the 7,500 words will be ignored. So in context, when you submit your research work, the examiner will consider your word 1 till the word 7,500. Now, anything from 7,501 to infinity is ignored. All right. So it's important that we abide by this rule. And imagine if with all that you have written, you did not consider your results and analysis in the 7,500 words, or you did not consider your conclusion, or you did not consider some very vital part of your research work in the 7,500 words. No matter how good it is, the examiner will ignore it. So it's a hard stop at 7,500 words. All right. Let's proceed.
Hello? Hello? Hello, can you hear me? Hello, Dimeji, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. Good morning. My name is Shai Usani. The last statement, can you recap it?
Okay. Let's go one more slide back. Yes. So I was speaking to the 7,500 word count. And my last statement is your examiner will consider your first, between anything you've written from your first word to the word that marks the 7,500. So your word 1, 2, 3, 4 to 1,000, 6,000, 7,000, 7,499, 7,500. That is the words that your examiner will assess. Anything above the 7,500 words will be ignored. So, which means if you have written so much, but your analysis and conclusion is forming part of the words that are above the 7,500 words, the examiner will ignore it. So, which means anything that you have written that's above the 7,500 words, the examiner will not consider it and will not be marked. Do you understand that now?
Okay, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Thanks.
So a part of your submission, your RAP is a combination of your research work as well as your skill and learning statement. And as Lola mentioned earlier, this part of your submission speaks to your graduate skills and your reflection and communication. And I like the fact that she mentioned that as you journey through your research work, it's important that you document, keep documentation of your experiences. As I mentioned earlier, the examiner is not only interested in your output. The examiner wants to experience the journey with you as well. And the examiner can only experience that with your submission. Okay, and it's important to let you also know that, for your degree, the only communication between you and your examiner is what you submit. The only communication you have with your examiner is what you have in your research work and your excellence. So it's important that you put in a perfect work and something that a third party can read and do not need to look for you or call you for clarification. So you need to be clear, concise, and be able to communicate. All right. So that's an important tip I need to just mention. So talking about your SLS, there are 2 questions you will need to answer. This in the previous submission, this used to be 4 questions, but the revised submission has brought this into 2. And the first question is, how have you developed personally and professionally as a result of your research and analysis work? Like I mentioned again, I mean, the OBU is not just interested in the output. They want to develop you. They want to understand how you have improved and how you have grown, what has changed with you experiencing and going through the research work. And we recommend that students should consider the skills, new skills that you have acquired and you have developed. I've seen students that mentees before who has no understanding or who hasn't used Microsoft Excel before. With the use of Microsoft Excel in analyzing the financial data and analyzing financial performance, they've gained new skills, and that's something that you can report in your SLS. You will be making a presentation to your mentors. Also, that is, so I have students who hasn't used PowerPoint before, or who doesn't know their way around graphs and charts in Excel, and those are some skills that you can use. Then your examiner would like to know the challenges that you face and how you're able to overcome them. And you can speak to D. You agree with me that if you wait till the end of the research work to put this together, it might be difficult. It's easier to journal your experience as you progress in your research work. The second question you'll be answering will be on how will the experience of RAP help you in the future? It's important that in answering this question or putting your thoughts together, you should consider what made you more employable, what has increased your capability. In the last submission, I have a student who works in a tax office and is performing, and his topic is on financial analysis of an organization. You agree with me that what he does on a day-to-day in the tax office is not what is required for his research work. So he has to step out of his tax environment into a financial analysis environment. And with the knowledge that he has gained with our engagement, I can vouch for him that he can work in an organization in a financial analysis role. All right. And that is one of the things that you can document in your SLS. Okay. And you can also consider what might influence your future plan. My mentee was also considering, hey, if I have an opportunity to move into financial analysis or in an investment firm, I think I would like to try that out. So that's also what you can document in your essay. This is pretty much less your reflection. So be free in writing what you've gone through and the reflections that you have. Let's proceed. Right. So there are a couple of rules for your submission, and it's important to note them at the beginning. And these submission rules are also important in you appointing or agreeing or selecting the mentor that will go on this journey with you. The first is if you do not pass your RAP on the third submission, you will no longer be eligible. In addition to what Lola has said in terms of your eligibility, if you fail the submission of your research work on the third submission, you will no longer be allowed to take the BSc Applied Accounting degree, right? The second thing is if you pass your research work the first attempt and you are awarded a fail in the SLS, you only need to submit the SLS, not the entire, no longer the research report. So just a bit of explanation. Your research reports and your SLS will be assessed separately. However, all the combination will lead to will lead to your level of degree you have. But the results will be your research work and your SLS will be assessed separately. And in case so it's possible to pass your research work and fail the SLS. It's possible that you failed your research work and pass the SLS. All right. So if you've passed your research work and failed the SLS, you will no longer be required to submit your research work. You only need to submit your SLS in a subsequent. You only need to submit your SLS. The score of your research work will be carried forward for the next submission of the submission you decided to opt for. If you failed your research work, your research report on the first submission, you will be awarded a maximum grade of C for any successful subsequent submission. So to explain that, Lola mentioned that you can have a grade A, B, and C earlier in a presentation. Now, if you fail your submission on first attempt, you can only get the maximum grade C for any subsequent submission. So, which means the only attempt for you, or the only chance of you getting a grade A or a grade B in your submission, is when you pass your research report on your first attempt. And it's important to stress this because this speaks to your readiness. This speaks to you taking your research work serious from the word go. This speaks to you taking all this into consideration when you are selecting your mentor and the school that will guide you in your journey to obtain your applied accounting degree. And from what Jonathan has said and what Tutu has said earlier, I believe we at Ivy League are positioned to help you successfully navigate the hurdles in this journey. Okay, so moving on, in my point 4, if you failed the research report, but you're awarded a pass in your SLS, then you will only need to revise your research work and not the SLS. So more or less, this is another variation of what I discussed earlier. Now, if you've changed your topic, organization, but have not passed both sections of your SLS, right, then you will need to resubmit the SLS in full. But if you have passed the SLS before, that may not be required. Now, it's important that most students will want to make their resubmission. In case they fail, they want to submit at the next available window. It's important that you don't rush to this resubmission. You can take your time. You are not required, it's not mandatory that you submit at the next submission window. But take your time, consider what has gone wrong, consider your strength. There are some failed grades that as a result of just few things that the mentee might have missed, and there are some failed grades that are fundamental, which you have to review and reanalyze the whole framework of your research work. But you're not required. It's not compulsory that you submit you resubmit at the next window. However, bear in mind that the other condition for your eligibility, the 10-year window and all of that, needs also to be considered. But your mentor and the wonderful mentors at Ivy League can guide you through your decision-making process. Next slide, please. So for submission, there's a fee. Yes, there is. It's not free. All right. And there are timelines that you need to pay attention to. First, the latest day for you to complete your ethics module is on 24th of September, 2021. Okay. So you're expected to have completed your module by September if you are opting for, if you're considering to enroll for the next submission window. And the earliest submission of your RAP is on the 1st of November. So there's a window between the 1st of November till the 10th of November for you to submit your RAP online. If you miss this window, you may not be able to submit again. So the portal closes on the 10th. It opens on the 1st. So on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd till 10th, you will be able to submit your research work, which means you need to start building momentum from about now. Start building your data gathering. You have July, August and September, largely about 2.5 months thereabout, if it's asked me to prepare for this. It's not a lot of time, to be honest, considering all the data gathering, analysis, research work that you need to put in. But just be mindful of that timing. You will get the result of your BSc degree on the 23rd of March 2022. There's a fee of 444 pounds. I think that's around, by estimations, about 300 if I'm correct, about 211,000 if you, depending on the exchange rate you're using, right? Your submission is largely going to be online. There's the website for you that you can use in assessing your submission window. But it's important to know that that portal will close by end of day 10th of November 2021. All right. For your fee, you're required to pay this fee to Oxford Brookes University. The fee will also be paid online. Then there's a portal and for you to make that payment. Please note that your RAP may not be marked without a submission fee, and also you also need to clear the ACCA fees that are outstanding. So if you have ACCA fees that are outstanding, that's also a condition for marking your RAP. Let's proceed, please. Okay, in concluding this part, there's an important aspect of your research work that we need to take a practical look at, and that is referencing. We've seen that over time, referencing, bad referencing, inappropriate referencing amounts to top the list when we are reviewing the reason why students are failed their RAP, or this reason why they were referred to disciplinary committee and all of that. It's a research work. You are not expected to start the process from you're not expected to just start off the process. You are expected to leverage materials that are available. You're expected to leverage books, journals, and all of that. But when you do that, you need to reference them appropriately. Otherwise, it leads to plagiarism. All right. So when you write academics, you are expected to acknowledge those sources. But it's important to note what makes up, a good reference. It shows your source, so which means you're not taking ownership of the job someone else has done. It enables other people to confirm and to find the sources that you're quoting. It supports your facts, and lastly, it helps you to avoid the accusation of plagiarism. All right, let's proceed, please. So how can we reference an item? So we can reference in four major categories. First is you can acknowledge, you can paraphrase, you can summarize, and you can quote. When you're acknowledging a word, you might just, you might find that an author has provided you with an idea or a general overview or what you might need to do, and you might just, or a quote that you might, summarize their work, but you're actually using their idea. So in that case, you are using their idea, their information. It's important that you acknowledge them in your research work. You can also paraphrase, and this is when you identify a phrase or a section of the book, and you want to paraphrase it and using your own words, but ensuring that the meaning the original text is conveying is still retained in your submission. There's an example in the next slide I would like to show you. Right. So if you look at the original text, it's quite a long read, and it's largely speaking to the profitability of the company, their strong position, and all of that. All those original texts has now been paraphrased to the text that I have in red font. So that just shows how we can paraphrase a long text that we found in a journal, in a textbook, in a credible online website, and we can paraphrase them to and use them in our research work. Useful tips for you for you when you're paraphrasing. Yeah, you must capture the detail. Like I mentioned earlier, don't lose the main essence of the text. Your text can't be saying the profitability is usually driven by efficiency, and then you're paraphrasing. You are saying efficiency is largely based on government initiatives and all. It's you need to ensure that you retain the context of what you. But again, you can use your own word, but use them correctly and appropriately, so you don't lose the meaning. Next slide, please. Now, when you're summarizing, it's more or less giving a broader overview of the whole document. So you're summarizing an entire textbook. You're summarizing a research work conducted by an organization. You can summarize a whole lot of things that you can bring in to support your view or to support the analysis or the results that you have analyzed or identified in your research work. All right. And the text I have in red is a research work conducted by an author. You agree with me that the text in red is not all that was written or submitted by the researcher, but for you have summarized it in context that is applicable to your own submission. All right. And a good summary will capture the essential information accurately. Don't lose the meaning. Don't lose the meaning while you are summarizing. And it's good, before you summarize, to identify the points that you want to bring into your research work. Not just everything won't fit in. So what are those main points that you want to bring into your research work to support the position that you are analyzing? Make it clear and use your words throughout. So you can use your word as well when you're summarizing. And lastly, we should talk about quotation. Here in quotation is the word is you're lifting exactly word for word a short extract. You're picking the word as it is written in the text or in the material in the book. You're not allowed to you're not paraphrasing here. You're not allowed to use your word. You're lifting those words as it is, and you're using a quotation mark to identify that. All right. Okay. So what makes it, the author words must be in quotation, and the full reference must be provided. So when you're giving a quotation in your text or using a quotation, please, the full reference list will be provided. We will do a quick practical on how to use how to reference with Microsoft Word shortly. Let's proceed, please. Okay, so lastly, I would like us to also discuss or show you how where to place your reference in. How do you place your reference in text? What makes it suitable? How would you put in the text such that it doesn't appear inappropriate? If you have multiple authors, it's not appropriate to list the names of all the authors. The first, and you can put et al, and that is more to say others in your text. I will show you a bit of that information as we progress. Now to put, if you can ask a question, where do you want to put your reference text? Is exactly where each reference it depends on what you are emphasizing. You want to give your generally, you can cite either when you focus on an idea or you focus on a source. So placing your text, your reference is dependent on if you are focusing on an idea or focus on a text. Now, speaking to focus on an idea, the example here is an example of a reference that's focused on an idea. So which means the idea comes first. The message or the text that you are projecting comes ahead and then followed by the author. In an example of the of the text I have here in red font, you're focusing on the idea. So the text, the text you want to bring, you're referencing comes ahead, and followed immediately would be the source of the text. So focusing on the author or the source here is more or less a revise of what, or focusing on the idea. Here you are emphasizing the source, the author, the owner of that text. All right. And if you look at the two examples, first, your primary source, Every Child Matters 27, 2007. I mean, so Every Child Matter is the source. It will be an organization, emphasizes well-being. So if you're also defining, say, one of the concepts by Michael Porter, you can say Michael Porter, 1984, 2005, 2015, defines productivity as, you are emphasizing the source there. You can also use a secondary source, when you are quoting a source within a source. That is where you have the using of a secondary source. And you can see from the typical example I have, where an author, cited another author, and which now describes the context it's trying to explain. So in summary, if you're focusing on an idea, the message comes first before the author. If you're focusing on the source, the author comes first before the message or the context you are trying to bring into your research work. Next slide, please. Okay, so it's also important that you understand the criteria for your assessment. Like I said, your research work is plain. Your examiners want to understand you, and also you need to understand what they are looking for. And I recommend everyone on this call I've spent some time to check the criteria. What gives you a grade, a B grade, a C grade, a F grade. And I'll just pick a few of these points before we proceed to the practical part of this section. Let's look at what would guarantee a grade A for your research work. So first, we are looking at understanding of accounting and business model. So this is speaking to you, appreciating, understanding what the accounting and models you are using in your. So thank you, Tutu, for identifying that area. So let's look at one. Let's pick the second one. So here you must demonstrate thorough understanding of the theory, concept, business model, fully explaining, reviewing, evaluating the theory, and the model you have chosen. So before you choose a model, and it's important that you also consider this when you're selecting your topic. Don't pick a topic you don't understand the model, or don't pick a topic that the model is complex. You must also ensure that you link theory, concept, and business model appropriately. I mentioned earlier that your part 3 is where you tie it all in. So you're not just talking about your financial analysis or your business model. You must bring them all together. But the drivers of financial performance are usually business models. So you need to identify those major business models. So for example, if you are using Pestel, are there environmental? I mentioned things about COVID and global warming. So the fact of environmental performance is impacting those businesses that are those green businesses that are dwelling in the green environment. So guys in solar, LIB batteries, and all of that. So those are the things you have to understand those concepts and tie it to their financial performance. If you don't do that, getting a grade A might be a tall order. You understand? And if you look for, I would just encourage that you spend more time, and I believe your mentor will also drive this home with you. Because of our time, I'd like to speak to the second part. The second criteria is the application of the accountancy and the business model. First is you having to understand it. Now, how can you show your competence in terms of the application of these models? So first, I'll look at the grade A and maybe look at what we make a C so that we have a good comparison. Okay. So first, and you have to have an insightful, critical application of the theory. You have to understand the concept, the business model, You also your business model to the project topic, theory, concept, business models must apply appropriately to the research approach. Again, your research approach, to the models you're using, to the organization you're using, you need to think it through. That's why while you're saying you have about 2 months or more to your submission, you agree with me that going through this process, understanding what you want to do and planning your time and your approach will take a significant time. And you don't want to wait till when you're 1 month to submission. If you have 1 month to submission, you can't go through this detailed thinking, and it will affect your grade, and which you don't, which will affect basically the grade that you get. Let's look at what will return a grade C. So you have some application of theory, some. All right, not a lot, not insightful. You are just some, just by the way, but it's lacking correct approach. Sorry, there's someone on, can you please mute that person? Thank you. Right. So you have applications, but you are not linking them appropriately. They are not speaking to themselves. All right. You have your pastel. Okay, you have your pastel, but it's not explaining what the financial, it's not explaining the drivers of the financials. Those are the things, those missing links will not give you a A or a grade B, will definitely return a grade C, and if worse off, a grade F, which we don't want. Let's proceed, please. The third part of your research work, we evaluate the information and the analysis and your conclusion. To get a grade A, you have a high level critical thinking. So, I mean, if you again recall what I said earlier, using what has happened to the pharmaceutical industry, the medical industry, and all of that, you need a high level critical thinking. You have to think it through. So, in general, I think the summary of this assessment criteria is that you can't rush your research report. You cannot rush it. If you want a good grade, you cannot rush it. Second is, if you want a good grade, you need a mentor that knows all the requirements and can help you on this journey. And again, finally, you have to be prepared and make out time for it. You cannot subcontract this to anyone. It's your research work, and you understand the criteria. It's for you to channel your energy into this assessment criteria and see how you can communicate this to your examiner to give them the assurance that you truly deserve the grade A. And it's also important, not to scare anyone, just to understand that if you're aiming to get a grade A or a grade B, you can only get this on your first attempt. Your second attempt or third attempt will only return a grade C, even if your research work is the best in class. You have a cap. So you don't want that. So let's put our best foot forward and do this thing first time and get it all sorted first time. All right. Okay, I think that's okay. Let's look at the SLS quickly. So like I mentioned earlier, your RAP and SLS will be great. We'll have different grades. For your SLS, we're looking at the graduate skill, like I mentioned earlier. So we want to see how clearly can you communicate. Remember, the communication we in this context is not how you speak, is the context that you are prepared in your presentation slide, the use of language, your grammar, your spelling, your accuracy in writing, using synonyms and all of that. They're very important. So your research work is not just research and analysis. Again, there's a part of the business language that the examiner wants to see, your understanding of grammar and context, punctuation, conjunction, all of that comes in together in your communication, all right? Information gathering and referencing, okay, clear evidence of relevant information that you've used, how you have referenced them clearly. There's a part of it that speaks to clearly evidence of the use of systematic referencing, and they have advised that Harvard referencing is the Oxford Brookes standard, although other recognized methodologies are acceptable if applied methodically. For us, we recommend that you adopt the Harvard referencing, and I'll show you a typical example of how this can be done on Microsoft Word seamlessly without and you can automate it as well. That is very useful when you're working through your research work. Let's proceed, please. And lastly, your information technology. Right here, we are looking at, a clear evidence of, how you access information online. So it's not an offense for you to access information online. It's an indication that you have understanding of your information technology. However, please don't pick information from Wikipedia, gossip website, and all of that. Please don't do that. Pick information from credible online journals: Harvard Business Review, The Economist, Financial Times. Major business journals are available, and some of them are free. They can give you free trials, and you can use these free trials for a period of 1 month before your trial expires. So while it's quite, some of these journals you have to pay, but there's a grace period of about 1 month for you to assess and check the services before you pay. All right. So that ends my presentation, my slide. I'll just quickly, I promise to show you a typical example now to reference. So Tutu, I'm going to share my slide. I'm going to share my screen quickly. Hope you don't mind.
Yes, please go ahead. Yes, that's why I went off presentation mode. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Please confirm if you can see my screen, please.
Yes, your screen is up.
Thank you. So I'm just going to pick, let's say, for example.
I can't see your screen, please.
Okay, I'm sure it might be a slight delay, but yes, it's already visible at this end. Dimeji, could you just make it a bit bolder? Can
Okay,
you
so
increase it to, yes, so everyone can see it?
All
Yeah.
right. Okay,
Okay,
so
sorry, Dimeji, before you proceed, can we confirm that we can see it now? So it's just not me that can see.
I can see as well.
I can see it. I can see
All
it.
right. Okay, Dimeji, please proceed.
Okay. Let's say, for example, I have a book with me here, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Hopefully I can use something very, very simple. So let's say, for example, Tutu and I, and let's say Tutu, okay, let's say Tutu, Dimeji, and Wu Habib, right? We both wrote a book titled, and the title of this book is modern, let's say, yeah, modern financial. Okay, good. All right. Now, and we wrote something about profitability. Okay. If you want to reference us, these are the authors, right? If you want to reference us, you can reference this material. Please go straight when you open your Microsoft Word. You usually have your home, your bar in the home section. Please move on, and if you're online, if you can do this with me, that would be great. Move on to references. Click on references. You see table of content, add footnote, and all of that. Look out for insert citation. Okay, when you click on the site citation, click on add new source. So when you get to open up your new Microsoft Word, from home, go to references. Under references, go to insert citation. Click on it. You see 2 drop downs. You see add new source, add new placeholder. Please click on add new source. Then it brings out something for you. Now, before we proceed to that, I'll back a bit. Here, you will realize that there are other functions or tabs here. Like I mentioned earlier, we are using Harvard style. So ensure that the style here is Harvard. There are other methods here, but from what we said, also Brookes recommend Harvard. and we recommend that we use Harvard as well, because that changes the how these options will progress. So you click on add new source, ensure that we have Harvard, add new source, it comes here. Now on the source type, it depends on what you're referencing. Are you referencing a book, a journal, a report, a website? So many things here. Okay, so we are referencing a book, so let's take a book. Who are the authors? We have Tutu, Tutu, Dimeji. Just separate the authors with a comma, right? Now you can also have corporate authors. So for example, there are organizations that write research work. In those cases, you might not see the authors, but you would know that it's an organization. Just click here and write the name of the organization here. Say maybe a KPMG research or a McKinsey research, but here we are referencing a book and we know the authors. Okay, what's the title? We said it's Modern Financial Reporting. Okay, what year? So I think we wrote our book in 2020, right? Yeah. And
yes,
we wrote it when we were in, I think, London, right? And who's our publisher? I think Ivy League. Ivy League. What edition? Well, you don't have any edition. If you have any edition, we can just put it in here. So here we go. We have it here. It should be tutor, or I think it's
Paul, yeah.
Edit, yeah. If you make an error again, you can just come here and click on your edit. Use a semicolon. I use a comma. Good. Say yes. That is it. All right. Okay. So here we have referenced something. If you don't now, it depends again. I mean, we can work this in so many ways. If I want to, this is when I'm writing something, say, like I mentioned earlier, if I'm writing, say, profitability is good, all right, and you're more or less, you're taking it directly from our book. Right, so this is a quotation, and you can say tutu and all. Okay, right, we can do something here. Here we are emphasizing, the idea and not the source. But how about if you want to, emphasize the source and bring in the idea? We can do something here.
Hi, Dimeji, we stopped hearing you for a bit. Hi, Dimeji. Okay, Hall, can you hear me?
Yes, Tutu.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you too.
Okay. All right, thank you. While we await Dimeji's, I'm sure maybe it's a network glitch. I'm sure we understand what he's trying to say. This is how to ensure that there's an effective referencing. And from this tab is the one sharing his screen. I would have just gone to, so you can then use this anytime you're updating those documents, ensure you're coming to just the same process it did. And then you just go to the tab that has referencing and then click on it. All your references then comes up. So it's very important that, because a lot of projects that have been referred to the academic committee has been because of insufficient and inadequate referencing. From the very first word you are typing in your project, provided it is not your idea, ensure that you reference it and ensure that you're not just copying and pasting. As much as possible, do some form of paraphrasing. Read, understand what you're copying from another person's work, reword it, rephrase it, and ensure, we can be tempted to think, after all, I rephrased it. The way I rephrased it is not similar to what the person has written any longer, and so it's no longer going to be termed as a plagiarism. But believe me, it's really going to be termed plagiarism. Reword, rephrase, but still acknowledge the original source of that work. By the time you run your project through iTicket, you then realize how, no matter how much you have rephrased a particular thing, it really just doesn't matter. It can still be traced because the content, the idea is not lost, and it can still be traced to another person. So yes, just as Dimeji shared with us, on your Word document, from the home page, go to the reference tab, reference appropriately. It could be a journal, it could be a book, it could be an article, it could be a publication from a website. Just explore. What we would also do is, as soon as you are assigned your mentor, we would also take time to, run you through how to do this. And it is, a lot of people usually have problems with, a list of their reference because they didn't follow this style. So if you follow this style, you just go to that tab that has list of references. You click on it. Everything that you have referenced will be arranged sequentially in the way that is accepted by Oxford Brookes. So from the very beginning, the only thing in your project that should not be referenced are the things that you have written yourself, that you're sure that they are your own ingenious ideas. Every other thing, whether you saw it on a website, and then I should also let you know that it is journals, published journals, academic journals are more acceptable than just copying something from any website. Honestly, everybody can sell their ideas on the website. I can jump onto the website and write something is my idea. But you're writing for academic purpose, and it's important that whatever you're writing is verifiable. So just as Dimeji said, in those places that you can get subscription free, some people say that it's very difficult to get referencing, very difficult to get academic journals. A lot of those journals, your first 1 month is free. And so please maximize it. Ensure that you are using academic journals, that can add value to your research project. I'm sure nobody is on this call that just wants to write this project and the person's intention is that I want to fail it. It's not possible. Everyone wants to write the project and pass the project. Like I said, we are here to support you. And I think we'll just swing immediately now to the question and answer section. And I'll be handing over to my colleague Abib, who will be anchoring that section. Abib, over to you. Abib, you're on mute.
Oh, I forgot. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to be with you all. It's been a whole over an hour of learning. So I look forward to having your questions. You can have your hands raised up. If you have questions for us, then we can take them one by one. So, okay.
Sorry,
I have Bola.
Abib.
Yes.
Abib, sorry. Before Bola, there's been one person that has been raising her hands. I'm sure by now her hands are aching. Her name is Christiana. I sent her a chat in the room that she will be the first person. So maybe we should take Christiana and then we can go in the remaining order. Thank you.
Cool.
So Christiana, over to you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thanks for the opportunity. I want to ask, is made mention about the 10 years rule. So I want to ask, is it from the time you started the ACCA program or after you passed the last paper that qualifies you for Oxford Brookes?
Okay. So regarding the 10 years, criteria that the OBU has set apart, what I mean is that it's within 10 years of the earliest of the date of your first ACCA examination papers or the first date of your first ACCA exemption being granted. What does that mean? What that means is that, let me say, for example, that in 2010, right, I signed up as an ACCA member, right? Maybe I did my registration and was completed in 2010. Now, meaning that is the first day where you have that's the first day in which I have registered. Now, if I now write, if my first ACCA exam is in 2021, right? So from 2021, the 10 years will now be 20. This is 20. Sorry, I said 2010, right? 2010. Then 10 years. If I said if I registered in 2010, and I wrote my first paper in 2021 or 2011, I mean, this 2000 that just confused me. 2011, right? Now, 10 years from that date is what they refer to as the first day, 10 years after you have passed your paper, right? Earliest of those 2 days. The first day when you pass your first paper, or the date in which you are entitled to your exemptions is being granted. Now, within that category is when you now calculate your 10 years from to dates in which you are trying to submit for OBU. Christina, did you get that clarification?
Yeah, I got it. So that means if I started 2010, my first paper was 2010, I won't be able to opt for it again.
Exactly. That means that if you sign up with this same 20, if you pass your first paper, right, in 2010, right, it emphasis on passing your paper, right, or the first day when you got exemption, the exemption you applied for was granted. Now, 10 years, if you calculate, it should be, you will not be eligible if it is within that 10-year range. If it's outside, if it's outside that 10-year range, you will not be eligible.
Yes, Christiana, just to buttress what Abib just said, it is what he said is absolutely correct. If you're already 10 years from the first date of the pass of your paper or your exemption, you're no longer eligible. However, if your 10 years is this year, if that 10 years, reads in 2021, just do ACCA, that email address we shared. ACCA, Oxford Brookes has ACCA an email to ask them, just to be sure, so that you don't, go through all this process, go through the whole stress, and then you realize that you're not eligible. Just ask them, I registered on so day. Looking at the criteria, it looks like I'm 10 years already. Kindly clarify and help confirm if I can still write this for this submission rounds. What we've seen in the past is for those people, Oxford Brookes will typically say, okay, still write this year since you're 10 years this year. And then, of course, I've also seen situations where in the past they have granted exception. And like Lola said earlier when she made her presentation, when in doubt, please just clarify. So I thought to add that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Thanks so much. It's clear.
Yeah, thank you. So we can take the other orders, the other people now in the order here.
Okay, so Bola, can we have you?
Okay. Hi, good morning.
Hi.
Okay, so I think Adetutu was talking about academic journals and published journals the other time, and I just want to ask if you can recommend some places for us so that we can easily jump on it right now. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. So when we say and I put it in the press form, it's so when we say academic journals, right, there are a whole lot of academic journals you can use. You understand? And it's also a function of the topic you are writing on. If you are writing on motivation that have to do with human behavior, I will tell you, okay, yeah, you'll find some articles on Harvard Business Review, but I'll say go to American Psychological Association, go to those kind of associations that write quality journals that are specific based on their area of specialty. You understand? But if you're talking about purely business, business, environment, and financial analysis, then I will now tell you, okay, fine, for Harvard Business Review does something like that, Financial Times, Times Magazine, The Economist, and there are a lot of other magazines you can use. Now, the beauty of this is that the magazines or the journals you are using should be relevant to the local, not necessarily to the locality, but to the topic. And I'll give you a typical example so you get it clearly. Now, if I'm writing something about a Dangote cement, for example, in Nigeria, right? Now, I would most likely going to use magazines like maybe something from Lagos Business School, something from Business Day, something from Steers Review. You get, because it's a function of the context to which they're analyzing that particular company. Yes, maybe another business room might have had an article about Dangote cement or Dangote as a business that brings to context. Yes, I can also use it, but then sometimes it's also good to what I call balance the skew, you understand, of information, so that your information will not be biased towards a particular locality. So all of this is a function of the context, right, and your focus and the topic in which you are choosing. So it's difficult to just recommend, depending on the topic, to recommend a broad range of magazines. So all of this is just a context of, okay, I'm in this location, I'm in Nigeria, or talking about Africa, which magazines are the top rated? Just Google top rated magazines in Africa or in Nigeria, then you get that, then you can now go through that.
Okay, thank you. Please, my other question is, okay, it's just about the starting. So if somebody is paying today that I want to start my mentoring, when is the earliest time I'll get my mentor?
So you get your mentor based on our timetable a week after, by next week, if you have paid, you get your mentor immediately, usually a week after this presentation.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Right.
You're welcome.
Sorry, just
Kenneth, okay, please, Dimitri.
Yeah, just quickly add, in terms of where I believe also we can speak to where we can get data of and these materials. I think if you're using a company that are listed on stock exchange, stock exchange, New York Stock Exchange, all that. You can also, those exchange houses also do a bit of industry research, and they can also provide you with an insight into the performance of those industries, which you can use to benchmark the company that you are.
Thank you. And that reminds, another place you can find information is investment houses. They usually are what they call investment reports or research reports, right? I know that if you're for Nigerian schools, for example, financial derivative used to have their report, Vetiva, ARM used to have specific industry reports or company reports that relates to certain companies. So similar investment houses usually have those kind of reports. So if you're looking for a topic in a particular region, you just need to find the top investment houses and whether they've had some form of specific industry report or company report on those particular companies. Those are also good source of information that you can also use in your reports.
Yeah, so Abib, let me just lend a voice to that as well. So yeah, you can't really exhaust the sources of information that is available to you. And as you journey, if you at the time you register with us, would also on a constant basis, provide you advice as to where you can get some of this academic journal. And then just to also add a bit of point to your question as to when you would get a mentor. So yes, it's also a function of the pool of mentees that we have available. So typically, at the end of this session, we expect that, you reach out to the administrative team of Ivy League, would, send, there's some form of questionnaire that we send out, to help us know what topics you would like to write, right? And it helps us in the allocation of the mentor. So the timeliness of your response to this information also determines when you'll be assigned the mentor. So yeah, I so that, by the time, we're doing more like a performance appraisal, someone is not going to say, but we said 1 week. So yes, it's 1 week, but yeah, it's also a function of your response to, because we don't just assign mentors. Like I said, we have a rich faculty, and then we like to assign according to areas of specialization. So we have new topics now. We like to dimension it. So it's a function of your response to those questionnaires that are designed, that will be sent out to you. As soon as we're able to collate and, we're able to situate the topics you would like to write, then we can assign a mentor. I thought to include that so that your expectations will be well managed. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Suti, for that. Okay, I have Kenneth. Kenneth, over to you.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, my question is in two phases. You mentioned submission of the research report, the research work rather, November. And so I thought they submitted twice a year. Is it only once a year they do the submission? I thought it can be submitted May too, but I'm not too sure. I want to be more.
Okay, so ACCA usually OBU has two, they call it periods, right? 2 periods in a year. One is mid-year, then the second one is where we are now, right? If you look, we have what the first submission happened in May, right? Where we have mentees who started their journey from March up until the time where they now did their submission in May. The second submission is this journey that we are starting now, right? Which implies that for those who want to submit in November period, would start their process or the process of completing all the necessary research report, SLS, and submit starting 1st November. So there are 2 periods in a year. One that has happened already, and this is the second one that we're just starting the journey.
Okay.
So that addresses your question.
Yeah, it addressed the question. The second one is in line with eligibility. For someone that's registered and was deregistered, and the person has to re-register. Person registered in 2012, or deregistered and the person re-registered 2020. Now, when does the 10 years start applying? Does this start applying in 2012 when the person initially registered, or is it going to be in 2020 when the person re-registered? So when is it going to start applying?
So I'll take like 2 different approaches. Now, the first question would be that when did you pass your first paper? You understand? That's the first question you need to ask. Then second question is, were you granted an exemption? Right? Now, if those 2 do not apply,
okay, so let
meaning
me
that
when he registered in 2012 was granted exemption, right?
Okay.
And he has not passed any paper yet.
Now, what I would recommend in this instance, because of a bit of complexity, is that you can send an email, just like Tutu recommended, send an email directly to OBU Oxford Brookes, telling them your situation, because it's not the normal. I can't put it in a box based on the criteria that we have. You send an email to them, giving them base by base of your own situation, and they'll be able to advise you appropriately.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So what is the mail address, the full email address again?
I'm going to put it on the chat box.
Okay.
So you can see it. I'll put it on the chat box.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. I have Shehu Sonny, please. You have the floor.
All right, thank you, Habib. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, my name is Shehu Sonny once again. I thank you for this presentation. Okay, my question goes down. First, will this recording be available for participants after the end of this session? Habib, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Tutu, do you want to take that?
Okay. Show is putting you on a very tight spot, right? Okay, so this is actually the proprietary right of Ivy League, and typically we may not make this available. However, if you are interested in joining the OBU mentoring service that the Ivy League offers. Of course, I know it's not everyone that's on this call that will eventually be our student, right, or our mentees. So at that point, we can make some of those information available to you. But as it is right now, this is the information that we are able to share with the general house as it is. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Adetu. Second question is that is the same area of what the last questioner had asked, about somebody who registered 2012. I registered 2013, passed my first exams in 2014. After then, I had a lot of challenges. I could not continue. So up to last year, I had just worked, got myself back. Now I want to continue. What is your expert advice to me as a student?
Okay, so thank you for the question. So if you started 2014, right, and then we're in 2021, right, that's approximately 7 years, right? You still have a space of, you still have time. You're still within the 10-year range within which you pass your first paper. So you're good to go. I don't think you have a problem with that at all, based on this ACCA criteria.
Okay, sorry if I get you correctly.
You passed your first paper in 2014.
Yeah, I'm still eligible for the because I was given an exemption, yeah, and I passed my first paper in 2014, so I'm still eligible. That's what I get, right?
So you said you were given an exemption, right? What papers were you given an exemption?
The basics.
When you say the basics,
the first 4 papers, I can't remember right now because
okay, no problem.
Why? Yeah.
So even if, since you started in 2013, right, even if you got an exemption, right, that means that you still have, that means you have 8 years within that 10-year space, right? So you're still, you're still within that 10-year range of either passing your first paper or getting an exemption. So you still have a good time to quickly complete the OBU wrap.
All right, thank you. This is for Daisy too. Please, when is the mentoring class going to happen? Or I mean, the time?
You're on mute.
Sorry,
you're mute.
I said I was on mute. Yes, sorry. Thank you, Sonny. Our mentoring class kicks off earnestly. It is done virtually, so really it's not like a class. There are relevant sections that you would have with your assigned mentor. What we would do, as soon as you're registered and we can confirm that you've made necessary fees and payment for the mentoring fee, a group is usually created, a WhatsApp group is created for all the people that are interested and that has, gone further by, making payments. So we create a group and then we'll give you necessary information. Like I said to the person that asked the question initially, there's usually like a questionnaire where we get to know, just to get some level of information from you to help us to position, and that will help us in the assigning of the mentors. And then relevant information as to the progress of the mentoring service will be passed on in that WhatsApp group. I hope that clarifies.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you too.
Thank you. So next we have Sheriff online. Oh.
Okay. Good day, all.
Hi, good day, Sheriff.
Yeah, my first question is on the 10 years issue. It seems no one is talking about the update about the 10 years rule. I mean, from the new pack I have here, it says that apart from 10 years rule, if you pass 3 ACCA examination within 5 years of submission of your RAP, you are eligible. So is it that this new update does not apply for this May submission? Oh, sorry, November submission. Yeah.
Okay, so I Sheriff.
Yeah.
Sheriff. Yes, so it does apply. Yes, the 5 years is subsumed in the 10 years. I'm sure if you read the information pack, the 5 years is even shorter. So all the rules in the eligibility criteria, there are like about 6 of them, and each of them is not. One is a requirement for another. No one is mutually exclusive. So yes, that rule also applies in the new information pack, and then yes, is valid as you mentioned. So only that the 10 years is a longer frame, and that's why everyone seems to be asking questions around that. So do you understand?
Yes, I do. But please, if you say the 10 years is the longer one, I mean, let's have a scenario here whereby we have someone the 10 years has lapsed. However, he has done his or her exam in the last 5 years. Doesn't mean it's not applicable. Has done maybe another exam, maybe it's strategic paper exam. in the last 3 years or so? Does it mean
Okay.
the person is
So-
not eligible?
So I actually appreciate and understand your point, right? Anytime there is ambiguity, anytime we're not clear. So let's assume, like, for example, what you have said, that person has spent more than 10 years, but then has met that criteria of passing 3 papers, whether applied knowledge papers or strategic professional papers in a 5-year period. And you can already see that you are 12 years or 13 years. When in doubt, let's just ask. We're going to share the so I would like to really be very careful not to say yes or no to that scenario you just painted. But yes, when we're not very clear as to what the requirement is, they respond to your email in less than 1 day. So yes, we just send an email. Based on this criteria, this is what I can see in the information pack. This is the peculiarity of my situation. Kindly advise if I am still eligible, if I can proceed with the November submission round, and then they'll get back to you. It's either they'll say, oh, no, you're not eligible because of ABCD, or yes, you can go ahead because of ABCD.
Okay,
How that
thank you.
clarifies, Sheriff? Yeah.
All right, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Thanks. So I have another question, please.
Okay.
Another question. So in terms of, let's say I want to choose topic 5 as per analysis and evaluation of a company that has performed exceptionally well. So choosing that topic in the first, what are things I need to look out for? Because I believe that should be discovered after I've done the work. So how do I know that at the first instance? Is it that I'll just get some basic information about whether they've performed well or not, exceptionally well or not?
So, okay, let me start with that. Thanks. So the first thing I recommend is for you to read the OBU pack, right? Because when you read the OBU pack, it provides you sufficient guidance as to, in addition to what your mentor will provide anyway, gives you clarity and gives you all the information you need or what you need to check out for when you are addressing the question you've asked regarding the kind of organization. Now, if you, for example, you said you're taking that particular topic, for you to even write your research objectives, right? You need to now to say that decide what organization you want. You understand? In deciding what organization you want, based on the question you have, you need to look for an organization that matches the criteria of what topic you have chosen. Whether that organization has performed poorly over a period of time or they've been exceptionally good over a period of time. Also considering the fact that, like my colleague, Mrs. Fash mentioned earlier, that COVID must not be the primary reason why they are either underperforming or overperforming. You understand? But what is important is that you must read the OBU pack and understand the contents. I call it the OBU Bible. You get, it's important that you do that even before venturing to pick a topic or before venturing to start writing your project at all. If you do that, you will have more clarity and your mentor would also support you in making the right decisions. Hope that addresses your question.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sorry, just a little addition to what Abiba said. It's not difficult to know a company that is performing exceptionally well in an industry, because if you choose that industry, there are always ratings. And don't forget that when Lola was making her presentation earlier, she had spoken about a company that has a track record, that has maybe existed for at least 5 years and is listed on some of the stock exchange. So you can really tell there's always industry analysis in whatever industry you have chosen. You will see the top performers, and there are matrices that clearly tell you whether an organization is doing better than another. It could be on profitability, it could be based on the balance sheet size, it could be based on product innovations and all that. So, and like Habib said, very important that you understand the company, understand the industry. Even though Oxford Brookes have brought quite a number of flexibility to the choice of topics you can have, I feel if you're not careful, it could be a trap, right? Because you now have to do your homework well, because these things can be found. So if you say, for example, that a company, that Adetutu Nigeria Limited is the best in maybe an FMCG, somebody can check it online. If I go online today and then I put on the internet the efficiency of something in the FMCG industry. It will tell me the names of the companies that, play very well in that space. So if you have not done your homework well, it's very, very clear. So even though there is flexibility, you need to really be careful in your choice and ensure that, you're researching well, you're reading analyst opinion, you're checking different things to ensure that let's assume that you want to choose the banking sector, for example, the financial services sector, who everyone knows the top performance in terms of profitability, for example. If you want to pick the FMCGs, everyone knows the most efficient in terms of maybe product delivery and things like that. So it's very clear and really it's not ambiguous at all. Yeah, that's all I have to say for that. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Aditi. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I have Chineye next. Can we have the question, please? Hi, Chineye, are you still there? Okay, seems Chineye is not here. Adibola, can we have your question?
I'm here.
Okay,
I'm
okay,
here.
yeah, yeah, okay. Okay,
Yes,
so
yeah. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
And thank you, Tutu, and your team for your time. I just want to ask. I registered as an ACCA student early this year, so I want to know if I'm eligible, though I'm yet to write an exam. In fact, I intend to write an exam next year. So I don't know if I'm eligible to proceed for the November submission.
Okay, so that's what we call, while Mrs. Fash was presenting earlier, right? You talked about eligibility criteria, right? And some of those eligibility criteria would include that you have passed 3 ACCA applied skill examination, which includes financial reporting, audit and assurance, and financial management. There are lots of other.
Okay, sorry, I'm on exemption.
So if you're on exemption, that means...
Yes, I'm exempted from all that. I just have 4 papers in the professional level to write. I'm exempted by virtue of my ICANN certificate. So I just have the SBR, SBL, then I chose tax and advanced auditing, 4 of them to do in the professional level.
Interesting. So for those who... I'm with you. Are you done asking questions?
Yeah, I'm done with that. That's
okay,
the first one.
Okay, fine. So for those who came in through exemptions, right? You might need to forfeit those exemptions if you want to apply for Oxford Brookes University, because what the university tries to do is to look at an average of what your first 9 papers, right, from the first 9 papers, right? OBU consider those as your undergraduate level papers or undergraduate examinations, while they try to inculcate their own what they call academic learning or academic skills with this particular research paper. So you might have to forfeit that if you want to have Oxford Brookes University. But you must also note that once you decide to forfeit, you cannot reverse back. You cannot reverse that back again. You might have to make sure that you write those 3 papers before proceeding to other papers in ACCA. Meaning that if you now say that, yes, I've made up my mind, I want to write OBU, I've agreed to forfeit these 3 exemptions that I was given to me by ACCA, you cannot go back to ACCA tomorrow and say, sorry, I've changed my mind, I'm not forfeiting again. You can't do that. You understand? So you have to be very clear, and you have to make up your mind to say that, yes, I am willing to take these three papers, and then you can now go forth and do that. Hope that addressed your question.
Yes, so there's no need to go further with the other questions. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, Adebola, you have the floor.
Okay.
You can come up with your questions.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon.
Hi. Good afternoon.
Yeah. I registered through CAT, and I got transferred to professional level by 2011. Are you with me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Okay, good. I got transferred in 2011. So my question is this: am I see? I mean, that means at that point, I got some exemption, and thereafter I wrote my first paper. I want to know if I'm still eligible. Do I'm a member now? Can I still write my OBU? Then if yes, what's the cost of being a mentee at Ivy League? Because I joined this conversation late.
Okay, so you said you joined through CATS. Can I
Yes,
ask you what your first paper? What your first paper? What it was? If you still remember.
Definitely, that's F4. That is a business law. And after being transferred from CATS.
Okay.
So
okay, fine. So that means that you would have. Okay, I was just trying to use that to determine whether one you based on your exemptions you have gotten that time, you actually did the old F7, F8, and F9. So it would have that means that brilliant. Now where you are now, based on calculations, right? It appears that you are exactly on the 10th year, right, of your. So what you can do so that because you are the very edge, I would recommend that you send an email to OBU, right? Even though it appears that yes, you're on the 10th time frame, you need to send an email to OBU, right? Telling them your situation and letting them giving you that specific advice. You understand?
Okay.
That is that on that. Then secondly, because you are also an ACCA member, one of those things that you would also be a basis to which to determine whether you are eligible is that you have to be up to date with the with your subscription payment with ACCA. That's also another criteria. Yes, you have to be up to date. You understand? So once you have done those two things, right, and I think you're good to go. But then I would recommend you send an email to OBU so that they can give them their
yes, email address.
Yes, absolutely. We'll get that to you before the end of this session. Just give me a
I've sent it now.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Adebola. Emmanuel, yes, you're next on the line. Let's have you so that we could wrap things up.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Emmanuel.
Good afternoon. Hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Absolutely loud and clear.
Okay,
I can hear you clearly.
So, thank you guys for organizing such, this discussion. Please, but I want to beg you for one thing first. Kindly make the recording available for all. The reason why I said so is this: some of us are, we don't catch up as fast as others, and it helps us sometimes to refer back to the things that were discussed to, get a better understanding. It will do us better, emphasis if we do that way. Then again, I believe some people like me are also joined late. I didn't attend, at the exact time, so I might have missed out certain things. So please, I just want to beg us. I know it's a property of the Ivy League, but please, for the emphasis of what you intend to achieve, it will be important to help us assess this material after this discussion. Thank you. So then my question is this. I have like 3 questions, but I'm just going to wrap them up quickly. First of all, the ACCA, I believe you can start the OBU program even if you have not finished the ACCA program. So what I want to understand is this. If eventually you end up, finishing the OBU program and you completed it even before you write your final papers for ACCA, would you still be given the certificate, or would you have to wait until you finish all the programs for ACCA before the certification as a BSc can be given to you? That's the first question. Do you want me to ask the others, or do you want to answer that?
Let's take them one by one. Now, for your question is pretty straightforward. Once you are eligible to write your OBU and you're done with it, you would get your result and your certificate. Once you do with you writing your advanced papers, your SBL. Once you're done with your F9, you complete your OBU, you've done your PER. So did I say ethics professional module? I mean ethics and professional module. You've done that, you can get your result without any problem. You don't need to wait till you complete your all ACCA exams, I mean your advanced papers before you get your certificates. So I think that addresses that straight up. So you can continue here. Hope I addressed your question. Then if I do, then you can ask me the next question.
Yeah, that's very well addressed. Thank you. So, okay, so secondly, I want to find out the applied accounting program from the OBU. Does it carry the same weight as a regular BSc in Nigeria? Say, for example, can I use it to apply for a master's program? You know, one of the criteria for applying for an MSc or MBA is that you would have completed a BSc or something similar, HND, depending on what university you're applying for. Can I use an OBU certification to apply for a master's program if I desire to further? And if possible, if that is applicable, which universities in Nigeria recognizes that?
Okay. Your BSc applied accounting is a valid BSc in accounting. It's not
Sorry,
when you're getting your
my line
certificate,
is one.
it won't be stated the school would not. Hello? Hello?
I think the line is breaking kind of. I'm not. Hello, I can hear you now, but
okay,
at some point
fine.
the line was breaking. I don't know if it's from my.
Okay, so what I said is this. I said that your Oxford Brookes, your OBU certificate, right? It's a BSc in accounting, right? Like any university in the UK, you understand? That's one. Two, it is not it's not going to be stated whether you were a part-time student or a full-time student or you were it's a BSc in applied accounting. Do you understand? Now that settles that regarding like any BSc, getting a BSc in any university in the UK. You understand? Also important to let you know that ACCA in itself, ACCA qualification itself is a master's level qualification. You understand? Now, the reason why it is easy to write those first 9 ACCA papers is because the quality of what is in those papers is what the university has taken to say that this qualification, right, we can actually give you once you've done the professional experience part. Let's give you some bit of academic learning and academic skills, academic competencies. Those are the basis to which what's used, right, to say that we are going to give you that BSc in applied accounting. And it is a BSc in applied accounting standard for as any BSc you get in any UK university. So I don't think that is any problem at all. So I might not be able to answer your question as regards which university, Nigerian university would say, yeah, because you understand. But if I have a BSc from any university in the UK that meets the criteria and the standard that is accredited in the UK, I think I can use it to apply for any master's program. You understand? And moreover, right, if you also have ACCA also has some collaborations with some universities around the world, London Business School, and a host of other business schools, right, that you can get some exemptions and start your master's without necessarily using your BSc in applied accounting, just for mention.
Okay, Habib, thank you so much. And everyone, thank you for your contributions. I know that we still have 4 people, but I know that our time is also fast spent, right? Please, can you kindly use the chat room as well to, drop your questions? We're already 12:33, way behind the time allocated for this session. So to effectively manage time, I'd appreciate if Esther, FJ, Joseph,
the
Tim.
chat room is inactive here. I can't access it.
You can't access the chat room.
I can't.
Okay. Okay, so we might just, okay, so what I think what I'll just say now is if you can kindly keep your questions very brief so that we can,
I have just one question.
maximize. I'm not sure Emmanuel is even done. I just wanted to, make that question. Don't worry, we'll get to you since the chat room is inactive. Thanks for mentioning that. Emmanuel, are you done with your question?
Okay, so the third one, without wasting much time, is the mentorship program for Ivy League. Is it different? The cost of application, is it different from I think I heard the first presenter said something about paying 340 something pounds, which equated to about 311,000 naira to the OBU. Is it different cost entirely, or are we supposed to apply separately for the mentorship program with Ivy League on a different cost? And if possible, you could tell us how much it will be so that we can start preparing ourselves and mind ahead. Thank you. I think that will be my last question.
Okay, so Emmanuel, I'll just quickly respond to you. I'd like to tell you that you should not be afraid. Your Oxford Brookes certificate can be used anywhere in any Nigerian university here. And then your ACCA also gives you an access to University of London MSc in accounting. That's to answer that other part of your question. Then, yes, Ivy League is not a subsidiary of Oxford Brookes. So our fees are separated. The fee that my colleague Dimeji and Lola mentioned is the exam, is what you use, like your school fee is more like to be able to gain that the BSc in applied accounting, and it is £445, not 345, £445. Yes, you're correct. It's equivalent of 331,500, depending on the exchange rate you used. So yes, in Ivy League, we support OBU. Like I said, we're not a subsidiary of OBU, so we have our own separate charge. Our charge at Ivy League is 70K for our mentoring service. So after this call, should you be interested in, furthering the mentoring service with us, it is 70K in Naira. And I'm sure you can imagine how small that is in dollar. And with the invaluable experience of the combined expertise of the the 6 people whose profile has been read to you earlier, I'm sure you know that is just a teeny weeny money, to pay. Yes, it's 70,000 naira, not pounds, 70,000 naira. That's our mentoring fees. I hope that answers your question. So we can move over to another person.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Emmanuel. So what we will do now, so Esther, Joseph, Tim, and FJ, please just ask your questions one after the other, then we'll answer them together. Thank you. So Esther first.
Okay, good afternoon. My question is this. I'm not sure if this was mentioned. If I'm not in Nigeria, is it possible for me to be part of the mentorship program? And secondly, if I'm choosing a company, must it be a company in Nigeria, or can choose it from wherever I am? That's it.
Okay, thank you, Esther. Noted. We'll respond to that question shortly. Joseph, please go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, sure. Clearly.
Yes. In comment to what Habib said with respect of the eligibility for OBU. Now, any member, once a member of ACCA with good standing, you can also apply. You're also qualified to be part of it. That's what I read about recently. So issue of somebody taking exemptions, then later, as far as you are a member of ACCA, you qualified member, you are in good standing with ACCA, your CPD is up to date. You can also apply for Oxford Brookes if you are so interested. Just a comment I just want to pass. Thank you.
Oh, okay, Joseph, thanks for that comment. But yes, if you read the revised information pack, I need to respond to you immediately. If you read the revised information pack, it clearly says that if you did not pass your paper F7, F8, F9, which is now financial reporting, financial reporting, yes, your audit and assurance, and then your financial management, it writes it clearly in bold that you're not eligible, even though you're a member. So that's why we emphasize that. Thanks for your comments. It's well appreciated. Yeah, thank you. So, Timmy, go ahead with your question, please. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for this platform. And for us to have the discussion. I have a few questions. First of all, the payment usually for this ACCA payment we've been doing, we usually use Synchron, and I guess we are giving a favorable or exchange rate. If you with regards to I guess the education exemption or something like that. I don't know if something like that is available for the £445, or we have to use the black market rate for that. Secondly, I also want to ask the results. Will the results of the project be released first, then the degrees come later? And I'm talking about the physical copy, or do we get them at the same time? So I want to know what the timeline is for like the result of the project plus degree. And thirdly, from your own experience, like what is the average pass rate for the projects so far? And lastly, I want to be sure, because I'm writing tax in September, which is the last of my skills exam. I started from the very beginning. I don't know how that will affect my results. Will it be taken, because I know I'm making the submission in November, and my results won't be out until I guess mid or late November. So I want to know, will that affect the aggregates that would be used to determine my class? Those are my questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Timmy, who would respond to your question. FJ, please, would like to have you too. I can't see your hands up, but I remember, yes. Your question has been answered. Okay.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you,
Thank
Ivy
you.
Tim.
Okay, thank you. So, Abib, I'll leave you to answer the questions quickly.
Okay. For Esther, she talked about if she's out of the country. Yeah, it's fine if you're out of the country. We mentor students from around the world. You don't need to be in Nigeria for you to be a mentee with Ivy League. So we can, that's simple. It's not a problem. You can be anywhere in the world, and you can also have us as a mentee. Secondly, you don't also need to pick an organization from Nigeria. You can pick an organization from anywhere you are in the world, as long as you have followed the basic rule or the tenets of the OBU pack that talks about you having a justification why you are particularly selected that particular company. So that addresses your question, Esther. Secondly, for Tim, you talked about you could talk about payment regarding black market, Synchron, ACCA. Now, Oxford Brookes University is a separate entity entirely from ACCA, even though they have some form of MOU and partnership, right? So payment to Oxford Brookes is different from payment to ACCA, right? ACCA has that support members regarding fluctuation in FX markets. For OBU, right? Their payment portal is different. So you have to log into your account, use your card, and pay. So there is no, if I use the word collaborative collaborative relationship regarding payments for OBU and ACCA. So there's two separate entities, and they collect their payments also differently. Then you also asked about average pass rates. When you say average pass rates, I'm trying to understand what you mean. However, in response to your questions, right, most of the time for Ivy League, we usually have over 90% pass rates from Ivy League, right? Sometimes they have 100% pass rate, right? Now, in also to break down when I say pass rates, right? Pass rate is when you, so the responsibility, right, usually to for every project you do is really that of the mentee. If you go through, that's why it's important to go to the OBU pack. Every mentee has 100% responsibility regarding their work. However, mentors are supposed to provide, because it's also important to emphasize that, so that we'll be clear regarding whose responsibility is what and whose responsibility is that, right? The OBU pack is very specific as to regards a mentor's responsibility, that we're supposed to provide you support, we're supposed to provide you guidance, and they are also listed things that a mentor cannot do for you, you understand? However, we usually provide all the support we can to ensure that as an OBU standard, to ensure that our mentees or our students achieve their success in whatever they try to achieve. You understand? So I said it's important that I paste that out. Then you talked something about result and which I cannot really remember now. I don't know if you can still mention that again. I don't know whether you remember that.
So just so we would save time, let me help answer that bit. Yeah, so he spoke about the fact that he wants to do the November submission and is just writing one of the applied skills exam. Yes, you are eligible to write the November submission, but your results will be delayed until you have that final result, because remember that it's an average for you to get. So your project results will be out, but the grade, the total grade of what you have gotten in the project will not be released to you until that result is, I mean, that your, I think it's audit or tax, you said you had to write, until that is how.
Tax.
Yeah, tax, yes, you mentioned tax, yeah. So until that result is out, your final project grade will not be out. You also asked the question about whether you get the certificate and the soft copy validation immediately. In March 2022, what you will get is whether you have passed your exam or you have not. And then they will include relevant correspondence as to, you know, how in successive time, whether you should come for a graduation, if they've started the physical graduation ceremony, and when you will get your soft copy. So, you know, it happens like that, but you would have all your soft copy advised to you immediately the result is released. But for you, don't forget that it will be a pending result. Even though you don't need to do anything, as soon as your last result is released, then they give you your qualifying grade. Yeah. Abib, I think we're done with all the questions, right?
Yes.
Okay. I think we should just say thank you to you for the questions. Quickly, I'd like to share the timelines we have. I know that, oh, I'm not sharing my screen, sorry. I know that we've been asking about, please can we see my screen? Okay, I think it's up. I know that we've been asking about, you know, what we do and how we intend to do it. Like Abib mentioned earlier, the mentor allocation is supposed to happen 1 week after this program. However, this date is a function of all the criteria and all the conditions that we have asked, or that we are asking that you kindly do for us. Yes, we will try and, you know, keep to this criteria and all this from our end, but yes, it's a function of availability of information. As regards the meetings that have been scheduled, we have the first meeting, the second meeting, all this will be virtual, which also corroborates the answer that Abib had given, that, you know, anywhere in the world, we have mentors from anywhere, Canada, USA, Sierra Leone, Australia, anywhere, you know, because we have, you know, access to that virtual meetings. And like we said, when we made the presentation of our offering, that's bigger than, you know, the first and second and third meeting is our regular engagement. So there's a WhatsApp group. You also have the contact of your assigned mentor, and, you know, you have that regular communication. And then if there are things that you still would want that you would like to, you know, discuss generally with any of the management team, you can also, you know, reach out to any of them. So it's a very open floor. You have access to us once you are in our, you know, calendar, and you are a registered mentee with us. All these dates will be advised to you as you register with us. But we just wanted to note that it's also very important. You can't write this project if you have not completed your ethics module. And by September 24th, if you have not completed this module, even if you meet all these criteria that we've been talking about since morning, you know, I remember that we once had a mentee who got to the OBU presentation day in Ivy League and realized that he hadn't completed his ethics module. You know, he had to stop and he couldn't submit. So it's very important that you also note that your ethics module is, and this ethics module is also, you know, there's a price you pay to complete this now. It's no longer free. So, you know, you have to, you know, just sit down, count the cost end to end, and then, you know, you can make a call. And then if you still have further clarification, please do reach out to us. I would share our email address in the group. Abby, please just help me share the group's email address in the chat room, so it's easy for anyone to pick through. Gradually, we're winding up to the end of today's presentation. It was very good to have everyone on this call. I want to confirm if Sheyi or Shibolu is still on the call. Sheyi, are you on the call?
Chat room inactive, please. For email. Chat room inactive.
It's our email we're sharing. So if we send, are you saying if we send the email in the chat room, you won't see it?
I can't see. Chat room is not opening at all for me to see anything.
Okay. So we also have, the school has the registered address of a number of people that attended this call. We would also, reach out to you and, share our email. Maybe I should just call the email address on this call, but I'll allow Sheyi to take the closing remark while I would call out the email address after now. Sheyi, are you there, please?
Yes, I am.
Okay, over to you, Sheyi.
All right. So actually, you can put the email on your slide and project it.
Okay.
Good
all right.
afternoon, everyone. It's good to have you around up till now. I saw the numbers go up and at some point it started coming down. Clearly, I mean, a lot of things have been said. And at the time, I was wondering whether this is actually an open day information sharing session or a technical session. I think this team has done a fantastic job, at going far and beyond in explaining, what it takes to, haste this project. So well done for that. And again, thank you for joining us. As Tutu had said, we have an organized approach to supporting our students with their Oxford Brookes project. There was a question someone asked, which I just thought I should reflect on, which is around universities in Nigeria that you can use the BSc to apply for MSc. So here is what typically happens, right? Once you are done and you have your certificate, you will normally need to apply for a transcript, before you, typically your MSc program may ask you, for a transcript just to show the papers you wrote, what was your academic performance and all of that. Oxford Brookes is very responsive, so they will send the transcripts whether to you or to the school you're applying to, depending on the structure. Now, your transcript will typically be based on the ACCA papers that you wrote and your scores in those papers. So obviously, the university will not see, the MSc university will not see year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and the tens of courses that you did. So sometimes that often creates this, kind of surprise that, okay, what kind of transcript is this, so short and simple and all of that. And they often tend to ask further questions. Now, I don't have an experience, neither do I know someone who has used OBU for an MSc in Nigeria. I don't know whether Tutu or any of the mentors do know that, but we have a lot of candidates that have used it to apply for master's program in different countries. And I think one of the toughest would have probably been US, So what they asked the individual to do was to get a certification from a regulatory body in the UK that this BSc aligns with the, the standards expected of a BSc from the country. And that's because since Oxford Brookes is, registered with all the 3 major bodies, the AABS and all of that we have in the UK, that's definitely not a problem. So as Abib said, it's equivalent to a normal full-time, face-to-face or full-time BSc. You may experience situations where a school for master's or any other program may say, get a certification from the regulatory body that it meets the standard. And so you just apply for that, sort of like, is it WES or so that, people do for migrating to Canada. So it's similar stuff. So US, Canada, UK, a whole lot of other schools where I've seen, people apply for a master's program using the PSC. All right. So I think for me, it's just closing remarks. So yeah, you have a very, very high performing team here to support you through your journey. And, very important to remember that your project is your work, and it's so important that I remember when I wrote mine, that was like 14 years ago. We didn't have this luxury of meeting one, meeting two, meeting three. You just have to get someone to do an overview of your project and sign off that at least you had conversations. And because I rushed it, it was just a last minute affair for me. And, so that guidance wasn't there. Even though I passed, but that guidance wasn't there as much as I think it's more enjoyable now, where you have to do presentation, reflect on your presentation skills, communication skills, and all those things. So I would say take advantage of it. Employers are increasingly going, beyond writing tests, exams to be admitted into top organizations. Typically, you would have to do presentation, you have to go to assessment centers, assessing how you can work within teams and all of that. So this degree qualification and the processes all get towards, increasing your knowledge of all such in addition to technology. So thank you very much for joining. A lot has been said, and we hope that you will enroll and then you can start this journey, Ernest, so that you can meet your deadlines that are fast approaching. Thank you, and back to you, Tutu.
Thank you so much, Sheyi. Thank you. I'm sure for those of you that don't know Sheyi is my boss's boss. So you heard from him, and I'm sure that thank you. I can only say thank you. Thank you to everyone that made time out to participate in today's session. Thanks to Sheyi, Jonathan, and to everyone in the OBU faculty. Thanks to you, you that has taken time to be a part of today's session. I'll leave our contact on the screen so we can all have access to it. We can be reached on any of these numbers. And this is the email address should you prefer to reach us with via the email address. So thank you so much, everyone, for your time. And we hope to see you and welcome you to the Ivy League Mentoring Service. Thank you.
Sorry, Adetutu.
Yes, please.
Please, sorry, you said you are going to share the email address of
Okay,
OBU.
so I'll put it here too. I had already put it in the group, so I'll just copy it and put it here. I'll include it on that slide, and we will be on the slide for a bit so that everyone can have access to it. I'll include it now, don't worry.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, thanks everyone. We have now come to the end of today's session. Let's have a beautiful
Thank you.
Thank you. So yes, I've included the email address as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, please screenshot, save our numbers. We'll be expecting reach out from you. Thank you. Hello. Habib, is that you? Habib?
Class.
You're in class. Okay. Thank you. Hello?
Hello.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to say thank you to us, but it looks like people are busy.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a good session. I'm still in the other group. I don't know whether that's why there's the feedback. I'm busy.
You need to mute your mic. Your mic is still on.
Oh.